The Newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Diego Castro, bringing you the biggest headlines from around the world. Heavy fighting continues between rival military forces in Sudan. Several governments are now landing planes and organizing convoys to pull out their nationals. Some foreign citizens were injured, including one French person after their convoy was attacked. American and British militaries have also evacuated their embassy staff from Sudan. Gunfires and bombing continue as the military factions ignored appeals for a ceasefire. They have failed to observe ceasefires, including a 3-day truce for Eid al-Fitr. Sudan's health ministry said over 400 people had been killed and 3,700 were injured. Pope Francis has appealed for an end to the violence in Sudan during his Sunday midday prayer in Rome. He called for a dialogue between warring forces and the grave situation.
Rimane purtroppo grave la situazione in Sudan, perciò rinnovo il mio appello affinché cessi al più presto la violenza, sia ripresa la strada del dialogo. Invito tutti a pregare per i nostri fratelli e sorelle sudanesi.
Paris, Kyiv, and some Baltic states expressed dismay after a Chinese envoy questioned the sovereignty of former Soviet countries like Ukraine. A Chinese ambassador in Paris said that the Crimea was historically a part of Russia and had been offered to Ukraine by a former Soviet leader. The envoy said that the former USSR countries such as Ukraine don't have actual status in international law, as there is no agreement to materialize their sovereign status. In response, France declared full solidarity with allied countries affected, which it said had acquired their independence. Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and Ukraine responded along the same lines. Meanwhile, families in Ukraine visit the graves of their loved ones and those who died in the war against Russia. Traditionally, Ukrainians pay a visit to cemeteries from the first Sunday after Orthodox Easter. But what used to be for remembering grandparents has become an occasion to honor those who died on the front lines. In the central city of Kryvyi Rih, many people paid a visit to a new section of the main cemetery. There, Ukrainian soldiers who died since the full-scale invasion began in February last year are buried.
We remember our relatives, but before we remembered grandfathers and grandmothers, those who already lived their lives, this day is unusual because in the last year we have buried many of our friends and people we know. With my brother and my husband, we came in this place where our boys are buried, the fighters, the fighters who protected our country, and we came to honor their memory because we need to remember them.
We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now World. I'm Diego Castro. Authorities have found more bodies on land owned by a pastor in Kenya who was arrested over links to cultism. 39 bodies have been found so far, with authorities saying that more shallow graves have yet to be dug up. The search began after the police were tipped off about dozens of shallow graves across the farm owned by the pastor, who had told his followers to fast to death. The total death toll now stands at 43, as authorities found 4 other people who starved to death at the Good News International Church last week.
People who just wake up one day in the name of a calling to, drive people on a suicide path.
Muslims from around the world celebrated Eid al-Fitr, or the festival of breaking the fast, over the weekend, marking the end of Ramadan. Here are the details, courtesy of the Associated Press.
The holiday of Eid al-Fitr, which follows the holy month of Ramadan, has ushered in a day of prayers and joy for Muslims around the world. While the celebration on Friday was marred by tragedy amid the explosion of conflict in Sudan. In parts of the region, a rapprochement between arch rivals Iran and Saudi Arabia raised hopes for less conflict in the Middle East. Thousands of Muslims in Bangladesh joined Eid prayers at Dhaka's National Eidgah, with many saying that they prayed for peace of mankind.
বাংলাদেশ শান্তি কামনা করছে, সব মানুষ যেন শান্তিতে থাকতে পারে, সব মানুষের যেন আল্লাহ রোজাটা কবুল করে, রোজার বিনিময়ে সবাইকে যেন জান্নাত দিয়ে দেয়, এই জন্য কামনা করছি।
Believers in the Muslim majority nation of 160 million observed a month of dawn to dusk fasting intended to reach closer to God. Millions of Bangladeshis traditionally travel from big cities to villages across the country to join their families to celebrate Eid. The start of the holiday is traditionally based on sightings of the new moon, which vary according to location. In Pakistan's port city Karachi, hundreds of thousands of people held prayers in mosques as well as on the open ground.
इस ईद के मौके पर यही कहना चाहेंगे कि अपनी खुशियों में दूसरों को भी शरीक कीजिए और जो अरबाब इख्तिदार है वो अना से बाहर निकलें और इस अवाम का भी सोचें। आज ईद का दिन है तो नफ़रतें मिटाएं और सफ़ों में इत्तेहाद बरकरार रखें।
This year, many Arab countries began their celebrations on Friday, while Iran, Pakistan, and Indonesia, among others, set the first day of the holiday for Saturday.
Dan ini sangat luar biasa, suasananya sangat hangat ya. Kita bisa bertemu untuk bisa berjamaah sama-sama sholat Id di sini. Dan mudah-mudahan kondisi seperti bisa terjalin terus ya. Ukhuwah Islamiyah, persatuan umat ini terjaga hingga akhir.
The Super Mario Bros. Movie continues to rack up coins at the box office, leading ticket sales for the 3rd straight weekend. The animation hit sales nears $1 billion after just 18 days in theaters. Last week, it became the highest-grossing animated release of the pandemic era, with global ticket sales now at $871 million. Once the Super Mario Bros. Movie passes $1 billion worldwide, it will be just the 4th film of the pandemic era to reach that benchmark, following Spider-Man No Way Home, Top Gun Maverick, and Avatar The Way of Water. And those are the top world headlines of the hour. Join us again at 9 a.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. Coming right up is Agenda at 8 a.m. I'm Diego Castro. We are One News. All sides, all the time.